Well, many thanks for joining us. You're watching Galaxy today, coming to you from Galaxy Television. My name is Justin Akadonye. I trust your day is coming on well.
Exactly, and I'm Uche Onyeka. Like Justin rightly said, just your day is coming up well. I mean, I got to office quite early this morning. There was no traffic, and I was like, wow, this is Lagos. No traffic on a Tuesday. I sure hope that you're having a splendid time out there. And of course, today we'll be looking at assessing the electioneering campaigns. I mean, we're just few weeks to election 2019, and it looks like the clock is ticking, Justin, as
Yes,
we
it
approach
is.
the
It is.
presidential
We are really
election.
counting down. Today is the 15th of February, and so that makes it about 30, 31 days to the presidential election and the national elections. Nigerians are eagerly awaiting to go to the polls to elect the next set of representatives for the country. And so far, looking at how far the elections are, preparation for the elections are coming, we've been hearing lots of reports on violence, insecurity in some areas, specifically in Lagos State. Just last week, we're all aware of what happened at the APC campaign rally. There was also same in Ogun State. And from Kwara State, just yesterday, the PDP and APC are actually trading, blames over who is responsible for the skirmishes that happened around the state. So we're looking at how far we've come. How should we be going about our campaigns, electioneering campaigns, the issue of spreading bad news, or fake news rather, and of course demarketing other candidates and parties will come up on this discussion this morning. We have guests in Lagos, in Abuja, and of course in Ibadan. Let's start with Lagos before we move on to Ibadan quickly, because we know the NOA lady is still standing by. In Lagos here we have Victor Ohai. He has a whole lot of feathers to his cap. He is a renowned film producer, but right now, specifically for this discourse, he is the presidential candidate for the PPC. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy
today. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Good to have you too, sir.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about elections. Let's talk about campaigns. Why should our electioneering, that's Nigeria that is, our electioneering campaign be marred with a whole lot of violence, specifically in this 2019 campaigns?
It starts with, if you like, sometimes the lack of internal democracy in the parties, and the desperation as well of individual candidates and factions, both within the party and between political parties. And what makes this worse is, especially among the big parties, usually they are the same set of people going from one side to the other. And so when you leave one party to go to the other, obviously you're obviously not living because you're happy. You're obviously living because you feel cheated and all that. And so you find that there's animosity between those parties and this battle for supremacy. So it happens both within but also because of the kind of democracy that we practice in this country, where we have a system that is so porous that you can get in there and just steal with impunity. And so it makes it attractive, if you like, for certain people who are jobless, whose only business is politics. They don't do anything else. And so for a person who does not have a fallback, whose only means of livelihood is politics, then it's like win at all costs. It's like do or die. So, I mean, this is traceable to the reasons why. But we can be more specific and begin to look at the individual cases, but that's a different matter altogether. But these are some of the reasons why you have some of these skirmishes and also the proliferation of arms as well. You find that a lot of these politicians arm thugs. They import arms. You know that customs have intercepted several arms that are imported into this country. And so far we haven't heard who is responsible. I've not heard about any prosecution. I don't know if you've heard about any. And yet there are so many of them. And then we begin to wonder what happens to these cases. We just hear that the arms were intercepted, confiscated. The people behind them, maybe they're ghosts and spirits, we don't know, but we never get to hear. Okay? So I suspect that there are interests that are so powerful that perhaps no one can talk to them. And these arms end up in the, with thugs, political thugs. And of course, when they go out, and let me just make a point here as well. A situation where I'm a presidential candidate, for instance, and at this level, the Nigerian government is supposed to provide security without asking. You don't have to ask. At this level, your life should be secured because of the office you're running, because you're exposed. But the government is not. And so when people begin to resort to self-help, because these candidates can feel vulnerable. And so what happens? If I feel that my life is being threatened, I therefore begin to employ private security. I'm saying this so that they will hear. They are not providing security for the presidential candidates and the governors. It is wrong. You understand? And what happens in that case is these people now begin to employ their own security or bribe the police to provide them. I'm not going to bribe anybody to provide security for me. I wouldn't do that. Okay? So you have to bribe the state to provide security for you. And if you don't do that, then you get agberos, thugs, arm them to secure your life against political opponents.
Okay.
I mean, you cannot. I mean, these are some of the reasons why you find things like this.
Okay, Victor,
happening.
we'll come back to you. But let's talk to Ibadan right now. Understand they need to be somewhere. Let's talk to Dolapo Dosumushi. Is the director, National Orientation Agency in Oyo State. Specifically, she's joining us from Ibadan. Good morning to you, ma'am. Thanks for hanging on. We're looking at the electioneering campaigns for the 2019 elections. So far, our guest in Lagos has been able to give us a bit of a background as to why we are seeing lots of violence in this particular campaigns. He talked about animosity. He talked about aggrieved members, moving from one party. He also talked about where sufficient security not being provided for, candidate of sensitive position. But let's hear from you now, Mrs. Dosumo. Looking at the campaign so far, you are aware of what happened in Ogun State at some rally at with Dakpo Abiodun, the governorship candidate there, and of course in Lagos just last week too, there was a skirmish at an APC rally where some people were reportedly, injured and killed. Let's hear from you. Can report, we'll come back and see we can try and re-establish contact with Ibadan to join us again.
Nobody would believe that this will come very fast.
Welcome back. It's still Galaxy. Today we are getting signals from Ibadan. Mrs. Dolapo Dosumo is the Director of National Orientation Agency in Oyo State. Many thanks for joining us, ma'am. We're looking at the electioneering campaign for the 2019 election, and so far we've been getting reports of skirmishes, violence, and thuggery. Lots of people losing lives and getting injured. Our guest in Lagos has been able to give us a background, but I want to hear from your NOA. In your opinion, what have we failed to do, or what are we not doing right? Why our elections, campaigns are not peaceful?
Thank you very much. Good morning once again. Honestly, I don't want to believe that it's because the police are not giving enough security to the politicians. That's why people are attacking themselves. So why are the people contesting are not attacking themselves. When they meet outside the political campaign ground, you see them shaking their hands, patting and, talking on a friendly manner. But you see, they always want to exhibit power through the lower ranks in the politics, because there's a process to ask for police protection. I want to imagine that if somebody, a presidential candidate, a governorship candidate is going for a campaign, there's a process to ask for security from the police. But because of the lack of trust, that they probably might not have enough, and the state police, they will prefer to hire private security that will be able to carry out some things, some actions that private police will not be able to do. For instance, the man in Lagos talked about internal democracy. We all witnessed the process of selecting candidates for this election. We saw some were not thoroughly democratic. So there were animosities. And, it's a carryover. When somebody moves from one party to the other, he's not living there as a happy man. And when he gets there, he wants to express himself. He wants to see that he's able to get at the people that are cheating him. And so there is a build-up of tension. But what we are doing is that, first of all, we are making an appeal to these political heads that they should see Nigeria as a priority. They should see the peace of this country as a priority. If they see that, they will not encourage their followers, so to say. Because I imagine there will be a meeting, there will be a setup where they will plan for these campaigns. You don't just gather people together, go to the street, and then start to exhibit violence. They should have an avenue of telling these people, their followers, especially the private security they carry around, they should be able to lecture them, educate them on how to conduct themselves in a civil manner. The Nigerians are not supposed to be scapegoats for them. The Nigerians are not supposed to be people that they can just be throwing away with our lines. A lot of Nigerians are defenseless. They cannot defend themselves. So because they have the privilege to contest for a position and they have some resources to hire private security, then they put people's lives at risk. It is unacceptable. It is not good for us. So we are appealing, and that's why we are saying, when you go for campaigns, please don't preach hate speeches. Don't assault people with language. Don't abuse people, the integrity. Speak and talk about your intentions, your vision, your plans for your constituency. Why do you want to go into that office? For instance, it's when they start to attack themselves, tell stories and abuse themselves, then the tension starts. And before you know it, the people at the lower rank, they start attacking themselves. It is the language, the body language, the vocal language they hear from their leaders that, propel those violence. And of course, there is this carryover from where they're coming from. Before elections, there must have been some cases of misunderstanding, allegation, cheating, and so on and so forth. So once the campaign starts, it becomes a field for them to express the animosity they have been carrying. So I still want to encourage them that the police is capable of protecting Nigerians. The police is capable of protecting candidates. But police will not do what is unlawful. And what these followers that are, fomenting troubles, they are doing what is unconstitutional. They are even a danger to the peace of this community. They are dangerous to. They should do the right thing.
Mrs. Dosumu, I will just take one final question one final, comment from you before we get Victor Hyde to react to some of the issues that you've raised. Okay, you've talked about, hate speech and people going about talking, campaigning using inflammatory languages and words, But what about the issue of fake news and the marketing? That's another issue that has actually, come to the fore this particular period of electioneering campaign. We see a lot of talk of people spreading rumors and things that are not true just in order to get an upper hand in elections. What has NOA done in this regard?
Thank you. I can tell you boldly that we have been on this issue of fake news, hate speech for some time now. But see, when there is hatred, when the animosity, that is when people sit down to concoct fake stories, and then thinking that they will use it to malign their position, they will use it to, to deaden the image of opposition. And it is not good for our democracy. It is not good. We're all asking for credible election, acceptable election. How would election be acceptable when people start to preach evil against themselves? The lot of manipulations are on now on the social media. Noah has been crying that this is unacceptable. Leaders should be credible enough to say what is the truth. And once it goes out, there is this use of social media, the news spreads so fast. And we're appealing to media practitioners as well, that before they start to transmit and, spread, please verify it and make sure that there is a source that is credible and what they are transmitting to our people is the truth. Please let me just veer a little into another issue that is very, very crucial at this moment, the issue of void votes. Because people are campaigning now, and we see a large turnout at each campaign.
Okay, we apologize for that. We have a bit of connection issue from Ibadan. That was Mrs. Dolapo Dosumu. She is the Director of National Orientation Agency in Oyo State. Okay, I think we're getting signal. But very quickly, you were talking about void votes. Can you just do that in a minute so we can continue here in Lagos? Go ahead, Mrs. Dosumu.
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Mrs.
The process is that the symbol of the party will be on the left. The space to put your thumbprint is on the right. Look at this. When people should be told, people should be educated that if the thumbprint falls on the line, it becomes a void vote. If it goes outside the box, it becomes a void vote. And then now that people should know that the first set of election now, we have the presidential, the Senate, and the rep. Each ballot paper attracts one thumbprint. Once it becomes two, that's a void vote. They should look at it very well and thumbprint in only
that's as much as we can take from our end at Ibadan. We must say a very big thank you to Mrs. Dolapo Dosumu, Director of National Orientation Agency in that state. All right, Victor, you heard from her, you listened, and
yes.
I still want to get reactions.
Well, just listening to her, for me, and I don't mean anything by it, but this is probably the most articulate officer or the most articulate view I've ever heard from the NOA in recent times. This is one agency we have been wondering, where they have been all these years. I think she should take the issue of the void vote thing beyond just talking. They have a budget. Do public service announcements and put it on, not just on NTA, but on private stations so that there's proper education, print posters, and let people get to know about them. I agree with a lot of her views. She has spoken very articulately. Somehow I begin to wish that she was even the head of the NOA. But that's a discussion for another time. Because honestly, that is one gap that is lacking, public enlightenment.
Enlightenment, exactly.
Until now, we have been wondering where it used to be MAMSA, and then they changed it to NOA, maybe because it's an MAMSA was also an abbreviation. So you begin to wonder, where have they been all this while? Because if they are constantly speaking to the public, if there's constant public enlightenment, the electorate and the public, the citizens, would know to do things, properly. But they have been sleeping all this while. But thank God for what she has said here, and I hope that they can do a lot better. What she tried to do there, they should spend out of their budget, create adverts, and put them on air so that there will be proper enlightenment. That's the reason why they have allocation. That's the reason why they have a budget, for public enlightenment. Their job is basically publicity and awareness for government. But they are sleeping, you know, so, but it's okay.
All right, Victor. Okay, let's look at another thing that, you know, that I see, you know, new, or will I say trended per se. You know, elections right now, a lot of people are now taking the elections door to door. Is it something that is, will you say it's a welcome development? Because before now, a lot of people just would always want to depend on rally, but I see people doing lots of door-to-door campaign this season.
Well, sometimes the circumstances determine the strategies.
Okay.
Door to door, I mean, Obama used it very effectively, but you need a lot of volunteers to be able to do that. It's an effective strategy because it's like evangelism. You go, you talk to people, you convince them, you tell them why. It's adults, it's torturous, it's a lot of work to do. But when you have volunteers, then it's okay. But the reason behind that is also, beyond the fact that it's a very effective method, is the times and the season. There's no money anywhere. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think it's also cheaper to pay volunteers to go from door to door. If you employ someone and give him a stipend who is committed to what you're doing, or pay for his Okada or whatever to go and do this for you, it's cheaper than advertising spend. You know, so I think, so that is informing the way it is right now. Advertising is very expensive nowadays, you know, so, and it's making people consider options. So, and that is an option that you can monitor, is an option that you can get instant feedback from. It's also an option that involves persuasion. You know, you have people who can talk. So, plus, it's also very effective.
Okay, aside the fact that it has so many advantages to it, do you sense any form of disadvantage? I mean, some people could think that door-to-door also could help maybe more of corruption thrive. It could be
no. See, the issue of corruption, I don't think so. I mean, again, I use this word loosely, whatever it takes. I don't mean negatively. Please let me quickly put that before someone edits that. You know, you know. So the words are joined, so it can't be edited. You know, so but whatever works for you. You know, the issue of corruption, I don't see. I mean, the thing is, you're going to talk to people. There are people who no. Let me see.
Okay.
There are people who, for instance, are doing medical outreaches as part of their campaign strategy. You want to call that bribe? You can call it whatever you want to, but they are reaching people however they want to. If you know people are hungry somewhere, you go, you talk. Even people who do evangelism, the churches, they do it. Sometimes they feed people first to bring them, then when they come, then they preach their gospel. Okay? So there are the ones that are outright bribery. Trader money, for instance, that they didn't do since 3 years ago. It's now that they're coming to give traders money, and I begin to wonder. That is outright bribery, as far as I'm concerned. But that is me. That's my opinion. So, but if you're going door to door, the people who are going from door to door are talking to you. Are they sharing money door to door? Well, if you think you can afford it and you are able to do that, I don't know how sustainable that is. But I think what is more important is the person who is going from door to door is first of all convinced about his mission. And then when he gets to knock on a door, he's probably talking to someone in his community. Okay? And that person in his community, what I noticed, we were in Ibadan last weekend, over the weekend for our campaign. We were all over the place. And when we got to, like, we go to Bodija, we went to some of the markets and some of the places we went, just traveling, going around and campaigning and talking. You say, give us money, and then you begin to wonder. So it's not even about the politicians anymore. It's about the electorate and the expectation because of the way politics has been practiced in recent times. So if you say, give us money, give us money, give us money. You know, and they come on the car doorway, over the roof, and they say, give us money and all that. So you begin to wonder. So when you go door to door, there will be those who will say to you, give us something first. that is there. But for me, that is not the overriding issue. The important thing is, like she mentioned, concentrate on the issues, sell your candidature, sell your candidate, sell the message. You understand? And when you do that, it's left for the people to be convinced. Some will take money and yet won't vote for you. I hope you know that. There are many who say, give us money. Of course they will take your money, but they will vote somewhere. So that you share money is not a guarantee that people are necessarily going to vote for you. Yeah.
All right, let's bring Dr. Gideon Osei into this conversation. Dr. Gideon Osei is the president, Save the Peace Initiative International. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today as we assess the campaigns for the 2019 general elections. We're looking at a whole lot of issues from here in Lagos and, of course, in Ibadan. We've talked about issues of violence, issues of vote buying, and avoided votes as well. Let's hear your opinion concerning the 2019 campaign so far, looking at how far we've been going and the political parties have been campaigning across board, across the state. In your opinion, how would you rate the campaigns so far?
Well, thank you, Justin, for this very apt topic at a time like this in our country. Sincerely, we're expecting that during the campaign period, people will be discussing issues and not personalities. But like you would have seen in the last couple of days, no one is talking about issues. Nobody is discussing about cogent reasons why Nigerians are suffering. Instead, it's all abuses, it's all manipulations, and what have you. House-to-house campaign is a very effective strategy. Because you're going from home to home, you're meeting people the way they are, and you're speaking to them. You're coming down to their level. But I tell you, Justin, it is not just to move from house to house that is the issue. When you meet people in their homes and you're campaigning to them, what are you telling them? Are you lying to them in order to confuse them or to convince them? Or are you telling them the truth as it is? If a good candidate is given a ticket in a particular environment, I assure you there'll be no much to be done as far as campaign is concerned. But if you give a very unpopular candidate because he could buy the ticket, then you will do so much to get to the electorate, to tell them things that will confuse them or convince them to vote for you or to vote for your party. Our political leaders must begin to think again. For us to build a country that we'll be proud of, we must collectively put behind us those practices that is not giving us result. Nobody is enjoying it the way it is at the moment. Violence will continue. Fight will continue. Killings during political period like this will not possibly stop if we continue to encourage hooliganism in politics. If we do not provide employment for those graduates that are roaming the street, if we do not reduce the amount of religious and ethnic bigotry that is going on in the country, if we do not try to reduce the illiteracy level in the society, if we pack all the money and hide them in foreign bank accounts, if we buy properties that we do not need, instead of investing them in the education of the community or the country as the case may be, instead of investing this money in the life of the youths, what we will have will be so many people that do not have the intellectual capacity to even find out when there is real news and fake news. So if you have crooks and criminals roaming the street, the criminals you have in every community is a product of that community. They were not born criminals. They were not born political thugs. They were created by the system. So we must encourage the politicians that, look, when you think you are piling money and keeping for election period to come and share, you are also breeding the danger that would face you. Electionary period is not supposed to be a period to mobilize youths and fight from one street to the other. No, it's a time to say this is who you are. This is what you believe in. This is what you can do to make life better for the people. But that's not what we see. What we see are people who have no agenda for the common man, but to enrich themselves and their cronies. And so they do everything possible to get to power. In doing everything possible, they are ready to kill, they are ready to fight, and they will mobilize those who are available because they don't have options to do this job for them. So if as a state, if as a country, we are ready to make a difference, then we'll start from the basics. Invest in education so that people will be aware of what is going on. Put money to provide employment for people and not keeping money to share to them during the election. Because if people are unemployed, they will do everything possible to find food to eat. And of course, the politicians will always be there to be able to use these ones who are unfortunately available for their use. So I encourage the political class to stop chasing shadows and face reality. The country belongs to them.
I will still talk to you more. I want to get reactions from Victor High since he's directly involved, in this. Victor, you heard Dr. Osi talk about, politicians and political parties not basing their, elections campaign on issues, Well, you are a politician right now. You are involved in this whole process. If you will say, what can you attribute to that particular issue? Is it that the bulk of our politicians, political parties, they actually do not have anything to offer the electorate, or is it that they are even confused about their own manifestos, or what exactly are the issues?
Thank you very much. Now let me draw an analogy from my industry.
Yeah.
When you see a filmmaker who is maybe does a commercial, a musical video, or just a movie, and all you see are special effects, just know that he's empty, he has nothing else to offer. A good filmmaker will concentrate on the story and the message. You understand? Those that have no story and message, they will bamboozle with special effect. So that you say, wow, wow, wow. After the wow effect, there's nothing else to it. There's no message, there's no content, and that's where it ends. This can be likened to what's happening also in politics. And so people who have so much looted funds to play around with, or so much money to play around with, they don't care about messaging. They don't really care about what how do I put it now, the citizens want. And I'll give you a small analogy. Something happened in my home very recently, and I just remembered it this morning as well. I wanted to change the bath in the master bedroom. We had this power shower, but it comes directly, and then there's it wraps around you, different outlets and all that. But me, the one that was coming from the top, it just comes directly like this, and then the other one that's like telephone shower, I didn't like that. I like to just stay directly on that shower. Get, a shower that will just pour directly on me. I love it. I just like to go, like in the evening, I'm tired, I just want to just stay still under the shower. And so I got this very expensive one, stainless steel, everything. I brought it, and my wife was just watching me. I had installed it, done everything with the plumber and all. So I said, okay, it's good. But it's not useful for me that much because of my hair, and oh my God. Because at that point, she would need a shower cap for it. Now, I thought I was doing good. I went ahead, to get this. I thought I would be getting a big thank you. She said, thank you, okay. Okay, now, so all she did just the telephone, the one I call the one by the side and all that. Yeah. So, but, really, I just went ahead without finding out, without consultation, without knowing what the needs are. I just thought I had all the answers. I thought I had the money to spend and put together a very good, what I thought was, something. Now, that's what many of these politicians do. Instead of finding out what the needs of the people are and trying to speak to the needs and trying to address the needs and the problem.
They move by assumptions.
They move by assumptions, like I did. You understand what I'm saying? What I did was great, supposedly. I spent money, supposedly. But was it useful? It was not. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And so it is important to focus on the message. I like giving an example. Where I come from is a place in Edo State called Fuga. To dig a borehole in that place, you will need over ₦1 million. Okay? When you go, so there's no water. To get water, you have to go far, or you begin to mine or to harvest water from roofs and all of that, and have a storage for them. Now, you can sit down where you are in Abuja or in Benin and be saying you want to do good roads, you want to do. There are basic things that the people need. If you can give them pipe-borne water, for instance, it would make a difference. They don't have to go so far to fetch water. They don't have, it's such a problem. So we need to look at what are these things that are very important. You mentioned education, which is critical. For me, education liberates a people. If you have education, if you don't have any other industry, you are made. Because you can export. Our doctors are in Saudi Arabia and all that now. We can never have too much. If they are too much, they go outside and then they bring back the dollars. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. This money will come back into this country. Singapore does not have any mineral resources that I know of. Neither does Japan have any that I know of. But brain power. So this is critical. That one does not require research. Educate the people, educate them. But more importantly, when you want to do things for people, find out what their needs are. What is most critical? Because if you build great roads and the people cannot afford cars, of what use is it? I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. So you've got to be able to prioritize and look at what the needs of the people are. Are there health issues in a community where the people are constantly dying because of diarrhea or poor, because of lack of good pipe-borne water and all that, or potable water and all of that? There are health issues. Or before like in the riverine areas, for instance, you go to Bayelsa, for instance, from one village to another. I don't know if you have ever used flying boat. They are very expensive. Very, very expensive. And these people will travel across several miles. Not only that, they buy fuel at several times the cost of that at which we buy fuel. What have we thought about health facilities in places like that? If somebody falls ill, there's an emergency, do you have water ambulances, for instance, that can take care of them? Or are there hospital needs in those communities? These are things we need to begin to think about and how to address them in these various communities, the peculiarities of the various needs, you understand what I'm saying? And speak to these issues and find out how we can solve these problems. But what we see is special effect. People who have money.
I like to, more like, I don't know if I should call it a question or just table a case study now. For instance, we look at the health sector. Over the weekend, I was discussing with the doctor who said that once the snake bites, it's almost like it's a death case. Simply because there is no...
venom, anti-venom.
Exactly. Okay, so if we say as a government now, we know that there's so many issues in the country, and in dealing with these issues, what we hear is not something you can just tackle over 4 years. There's not about them picking on just one or two and tackle it properly. Okay, we have cases where there are promises and they say they're already doing it, and it feels like the downlines, because we have cases where the politicians or whoever, our leaders are trying to put things right, but it looks like once it gets down, it doesn't really get down to the people.
Then they haven't done anything.
Exactly. So my point or my case now is, how do we tackle such issues? Now you're the aspirant to play to us what your manifestos are. We are to be the ones to vote. Now, so as an electorate now, I want to vote a particular person. What would you say I should look out for? How are we so sure that these promises will be made? Because it's going to be another 4 years down the line, and it looks like the promises.
Read between the lines. There are things that are practicable.
Okay.
When people just go and say, I'll fight corruption, how now? I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. There are practical steps. I give you a small example in the health sector, for instance. You just gave an example. There are some things that are very, very critical right now. The issue of maternal health, and our infant mortality as well. Is a big issue. Nobody seems to be addressing it at all. What does it take to just look? If you can't reach everywhere, there are traditional birth attendants and traditional healers. Can you at least teach them the basics so that right there where they are, and some states are already beginning to do that, but make it a national policy so that at the point where it happens immediately, snake bites you talked about, there are solutions. If you don't have knowledge of first aid, you may not know. If there is I've forgotten what the name of that thing is, but where it's not just the issue of tying, but there's, because I did in first aid as well, with a stick you tie. You are likely to lose that leg. What I'm about to say now, you are likely to lose that leg. But against
The
dying, then it's better you do that. Tie it such that, I've forgotten the name of that, what that is. But you do that, it stops the flow of blood completely. By the time you're through, that leg may be condemned. But isn't that better than dying? But it comes from knowledge. And so, for us in PPC, for instance, one of the things we're thinking about is NYSC. I want to use that first as an example. And even in secondary schools, introduce first aid in secondary schools as part of the curriculum, so that basic first aid can be done. Secondly, NYSC, that's one whole year. Use it to do paramedical training for all those graduates. Every accident that takes place along the road, there's likely to be an NYSC person or ex-NYSC person who is passing along that road. Many people die because they are mishandled, or, when accidents take place, people just go and begin to carry them. There are proper ways of carrying people and handling them before help comes. Now, if you do that, in another 5 years, you may not have enough doctors, but you have enough people to support the medical system in this country. What I have said to you here, is it not practicable?
Yes, it is.
You understand what I'm saying? These are basic things. So you listen to them, see between the lines, and then find out. When you just say, free medical care, how now?
So look between the lines.
Read between the lines.
All right, okay, fine. Let's conclude with Abuja. Dr. Gideon Osi. Many thanks for still standing by. All right, you've been following our discussion. Victor High has told us to read between the lines when political parties and politicians come campaigning, come talk to us about their various promises and their manifestos. What would your own opinion be? Aside from reading between the lines, are there further things that the electorate need to know when these politicians and when these political parties come campaigning to them? Very quickly.
Of course, it's true that the electorate should be able to decipher between two candidates who is telling them the truth. But we must also not forget the fact that these electorates are gullible because of the conditions they found themselves. But one thing I can say at the moment is that across the country, electorates should not lose hope. Because it's when they lose hope, looking at the situation of things at the moment, that they will refuse to go and vote. Not going to vote will not change the situation. Sitting down at home, complaining will not change the situation. But when you come out, we are definitely going to get it right at some point. Assess the whole candidates. You know who your best is. Sometimes your best may not be the candidate of your party. But because you have to be a loyal party person, still be obedient enough to go and vote for your candidate. But if you must vote your conscience, at least go and perform that your civic right. Go ahead, choose the candidate of your choice, and make your votes to count. The most painful part, usually, is after suffering, after making all the effort, you go to the polling unit, you are accredited, you wait for long hours at the queue, you vote, at the end of the day, nobody counts your vote. But I tell you, that again should not discourage you, because we definitely will get it right someday. Keep going, keep standing, keep speaking out your mind. Certainly, the system is changing. We will get to that point where every vote in Nigeria will count. Among all the political parties, there are candidates you know, you believe in what they stand for. Even though, unfortunately, with what is happening in Nigeria, jumping from one political party to another, it appears there is no political philosophy that is guiding the political class. But the electorates themselves should not continue to be the point where everybody comes to give you 3 cups of rice, some will give you 5 cups of gari, and then you will sell your vote. No. You should be able to say, what happens to my children? What happens to this community? Like the in-house guest has said, there are basic needs that community needs. Those basic needs should be addressed. Is it their market? Is it pipe-borne water? Is it borehole water? Depends on whatever their needs are. Is it community hall? Negotiate it. Don't collect the money in your pocket before you vote. Negotiate with people coming to campaign to you. Ask them, can you provide this for us? Now, when they don't provide it for you, and they come back next time to tell you cock and bull story, you will know that these ones are liars. We must begin to vote for integrity in Nigeria. We must begin to vote for sincerity and honesty in people. We must begin to go back to those attributes that make us Africans, that make us the people who love themselves, who love their communities, who work as a team. So I believe that this is the right time for us to attempt to get it right in Nigeria. Politics is not all about driving big cars, flying private jets at the expense of the poor masses. It's about service. It is not for you to be a boss and lord yourself about everywhere you go and compel people to fear you as if you're God. No. Politics should be service. Unfortunately, we do not have many leaders in our country at the moment. What we have are politicians who are doing their businesses. If you buy a ticket with certain amount of money, you want to recover it when you're in power. Recovering it at the expense of the need of the people. But one thing is certain, when all this is done, we will go back to our God and account to him. That's what must always control what we do.
He is the president, Save the Peace Initiative International. We'll take a very quick break and hear from INEC on the election and campaigns, and when we'll come back, we'll take your feedback, and Victor will wrap it up for us. We'll be back in a moment to join us again.
Nobody would believe that this will come very fast. And I want to assure you that the Commission has decided, and very rightfully too, to make sure that power lies with the voter. You would discover this issue of vote buying. In those days, it was ballot snatching. But the votes have value now. People are going there to buy it. People can pay any amount to buy votes.
Your role in politics is majorly advisory, but your stature and style as custodian of customs and traditions make it imperative that your pronouncement and body language bear significant political consequences. Political office seekers and holders still solicit your attention from time to time. Politicians seek your support, blessings, and wise counsel for their political quests. Thus, the Commission understands that you are well positioned to influence the politicians and their followers who are residents of your various communities under your domain to conduct themselves with civility and decorum as is necessary before, during, and after general elections to ensure prevalence of peace in the country.
Ensuring peaceful election, fair election, election where everybody will be free to vote according to his choice, and there wouldn't be any molestation.
All right, welcome back. That was the Independent National Electoral Commission in Oyo State there, sensitizing royal fathers and monarchs what they should be doing talking to their subject on vote buying. All right, hate speech, advice both the APC National Chairman and the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture. Both are fond of using hate speech against your opponent instead of issue-based campaigns. Thanks for sending that one. We do appreciate it. Let's see if we can take one or two more before we'll speak to Victor again. Good morning. I did a transfer registration to enable me vote here in Ibadan, but to my disappointment, when I got to the local government to collect my PVC, they said it was not processed, that I can't vote here in Ibadan. This is bad. So let me jam you from Ibadan. All right, if I may ask, who is providing guns to hoodlums? What is the government doing about it? Why are some holding guns unarrested? Dr. Lockheed there. All right, I strongly, okay, let me see, this one is truncated. Saying police will not do what is unlawful is like you are not a Nigerian. Okay, that was directed at the NOA woman. The question I want to table is that how sure are you that the police are capable of providing security for the aspirants? A whole lot of comments there, but we can't really take all of them. Uche, you say you have a question for
Yes, I
Victor?
just wonder. I know we have so many issues that we have to deal with, issues that have not been attended to, developmental issues as well. But aside that, what would you suggest for the future? I mean, a generation is constantly ruling, and there are younger generations coming up, and they are just watching and following patterns. So, seeing that you're one of those who want to put things right, what would you want to say to future generations? Because one day, these generations are going to take over. So, what would you say? What would be your word of advice to them?
I say to them, don't wait till tomorrow. The time is now.
Okay.
Stop being deceived. When people tell you the future is yours, the future, you only live a day at a time.
But how do they know the right from wrong? Seeing that the pattern
there is no. Okay, you ask it right from. Let me just. There is no tomorrow anywhere. We only live in a today. Nobody has tomorrow. You only live one day at a time. And so whatever your hand finds to do it now. If you was going to politics, today is a day, not tomorrow. What if you don't live to see tomorrow? And so forget this old man who are deceiving you to wait for your time. There is no time. There's no guarantee that because you are younger, you will live older, you will live longer, you will live beyond that old man. The old man may still remain there and you are dead and gone. And meanwhile, you will not have achieved or fulfilled your dreams, your goals, and your destiny. Okay? So for every young person, seize the moment, get into politics right now, get involved right now, and do the needful. There is no other time. The only time to do it is now. Forget about tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. Okay. Nobody has it. Tomorrow does not exist anywhere. Tomorrow is just a terminology. There is no such thing as tomorrow. It doesn't exist. Every moment is now. Every moment is today. That's why the Bible says, behold, now
is the time.
Is the acceptable time.
Okay, finally,
I just wanted to separate one because I mean a whole lot of youth are looking up to these leaders and that we want to get it right. Yes, and it does. In 30 seconds, how do they know the right pattern? How? What way? What should they do? Is it really the Constitution, or what way should they? How do they know? How should, or what are they to look out for to know that this is the right pattern to do things?
The right way to do things?
Yes.
Well, I would say the right way to do things, and I say this unapologetically, is go back to the Word of God.
Okay.
It's a guide. It's a map. You can never go wrong.
Okay.
Okay? Apart from the Word of God, if you're on the path of integrity, righteousness, and you obey the law, then you're doing the right thing. It's when you begin to do Yahoo, Yahoo, and Yahoo Plus and the rest.
All right,
obviously, then you're on the wrong path.
Thank you so much.
We've been looking at the 2019 electioneering campaign, how far we have come, where we are headed before the elections proper next month. We've had Victor Ohai with us here in the studios. He is the PPC presidential aspirant, a renowned filmmaker. Many thanks for joining us in Ghana today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And of course, from Ibadan, we had Dolapo Dusumu. She is a director NOA Ibadan in Oyo State, as well as Dr. Gideon, President Save the Peace Initiative International, all the way from Abuja. A big thanks to you all for joining this program. We'll do it same time again tomorrow, 8 to 8. I'm Uche Onyekuluje. Bye for now.
And I'm Justin Academia. See you again tomorrow on the Health Edition. Bye for now.